Hey guys, Timothy Roberts here. We're in the shop with this interesting 22-inch china from Crescent. It is the hammer tone china cymbal, which is a Jeff Hamilton special. Someone sent this in for modification recently, and they wanted to see if I could tame it somewhat, make it a little bit more mellow, a little less harsh and shrill. And when I got the cymbal, it was very clear to see just by looking at it. It's got a very tall profile, which is common, and the flange is very extreme and exaggerated. So this is very run-of-the-mill for a china swish-like cymbal. This one is rather thin. It's 22 inches and it weighs 2,125 grams. So I was set about with the task of making this thing mellow. And I discovered something pretty interesting that I figured I would show you. So if you look at the surface here, you can see, on the edge especially, you can see this hammering that I've done. I've done some hammering from the underside to lower the pitch and try to drop the shrillness of it down. And this is what we got going on sonically right now. You can imagine that was actually higher pitched before the hammering that I did. And, you know, it's still, to me, rather aggressive. It is a swish knocker sound. You know, tons of rivets out at the edge. In a big band, this thing would sound great. But like I said, the person who sent it wants to try to tame it. So I was messing around with the flange and discovered something kind of interesting. This flange is not super strong, and as you saw, I just flipped it. So the flange that was coming up, I just applied a little bit of pressure and was able to flip it. So this little bit of hammering I did out of the edge destabilized how strong that flange was and allowed me to go in and flip the thing. And this is interesting. So now that I've done nothing but flip the flange, let's listen to how it sounds. As you can tell, wildly different. The pitch is way lower. It has sustain now, because that upwards flange, you know, on any china cymbal is going to choke sustain. So now that it's flipped down and there's more of a downward trajectory that goes all the way off the edge of the cymbal can actually ring out and sustain now. And I thought it was interesting and wanted to show you guys this. I sent a video to the customer about this, the guy that sent this, and I showed him, like, hey, I can get a much more mellow vibe if I flip the flange the other way and then do a little bit more structural work to, there's a couple things that need to be done with it before it's finished, but he listened to it and was like, wow, yeah, let's go for it. Let's do something kind of unique on this cymbal. And I wanted to hop on here and show you this because it's a very good illustration of what rapid changes in trajectory due to the sound of a cymbal. Obviously, the most extreme example is a china cymbal. It's got this upwards turn at the edge when you have a regular cymbal profile until it hits that flange, and then it changes. That change in direction is giving you trashiness. It's giving you a really choked, short sustain, and it's giving you a very aggressive, high-pitch trashiness, like I said before. So now that it's flipped down, we can see, if I zoom up on it, we can see that it's got the profile here, and it gets to here, and it levels off, but it still comes down towards the edge. So now the goal for me, now that I've flipped it, is going to be, how do I finalize this thing to get it back to the customer and have it be kind of like a swish knocker sort of sound, but more mellow, sort of a ride crash. Like, what does it need at this point to go to the finish line? when I play it, in person, it has a rather loose feel, and it kind of flops, and when you really dig in, you get a little bit of a tremolo effect from the fact that the edges are waving so much. You kind of have this kind of in and out sort of tremolo sort of thing. So that, to me, can be tightened, and since the pitch has dropped so far low, so down into the basement, I can afford to tighten it back up and give a little bit more stiffness so that we're not having as much flap at the edge. We can maybe tighten that sustain up a little bit. The pitch can go up just a hair, and we would have something that kind of gives you a China cymbal type sound, but more of a mellow, low volume China cymbal. It kind of has this kind of breathy, growly, dragon's breath sort of thing that opens up and has sustain. So my thought process here, and I'll show you after the mod is totally complete so you can hear where I land with the cymbal. But my process is going to be I'm going to remove a little bit of weight, but for the most part I'm going to be doing burnishing and maybe a touch more hammering to tighten it up. Then, since we now have tons of sustain, in order to get kind of a China-like sound, or like a mellow China kind of sound, what's going to be needed is a bunch of rivets at the edge to kind of help weigh it down and sort of limit how much it's able to sustain and spread out. So that'll be the goal. Probably 8 equidistant rivets all the way around the edge, heavier brass ones, so that when I crash it, right around there, it will taper off and die. So that you're able to have like more of that articulate, China cymbal riding surface, and you can lay into it and crash and get this explosive hit of sound that's going to taper off really fast. All right, so I'll show you guys the after result once the mod is totally complete, and then I'll stitch together the normal China versus the flipped China versus the final result, and you guys can let me know what you think. All right, so the mod is complete. I did some hammering, like I said, to tighten things up. I did some burnishing also to tighten things up. I added a patina, and then I went in and did a couple passes on the lathe to kind of cut through the patina and reveal some fresh bronze. And it's still a little stiff. I did all the work yesterday, so over the next week it's going to change. But I'm pretty happy with the results. Let's check it out. So, very interesting, very unique sound. I put in 8 rivet holes, and I'll clip together once we do the whole sequence of before, during, and after. I'll have a clip with all the rivets in it. That's going to help kind of contain that spread, and the weight of the rivets themselves will kind of weigh down the cymbal and taper the spread off at the end. And that'll be kind of like a nice finishing touch if you want this cymbal to have a little bit more control in it. This is something that's kind of unique. I don't normally do these kinds of mods because usually the flange is not able to be flipped the opposite way. Basically, there's a lot of hammering that is like really reinforcing how that upturn is happening, and so you would overwork the metal to try to get it flipped the opposite way. So in this mod, it was just a happenstance that the cymbal was kind of very loosely held in that flange, and I was able to get it flipped the other way. But I think it does illustrate kind of an interesting topic, an interesting thing about crazy changes in a cymbal's trajectory. So drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about this video, and keep an eye out for the next video. My name is Timothy Roberts. Thanks for watching.